Welcome to Bills Nation Daily, your ultimate daily dose of everything Buffalo Bills. Hit that subscribe button and join the most passionate Bills fans as we break down all the latest news, highlights, and game analysis. Go Bills! There's a storm quietly brewing in Buffalo that nobody seems to be talking about, but insiders are whispering about it, and fans are starting to feel the tension in their bones. James Cook, one of the most electrifying offensive weapons the Bills have had in recent years, apparently dropped a bombshell statement that has sent shockwaves through social media and locker room chatter alike. According to sources who claim to have heard him directly, Cook said he would leave the Bills if LEVI WALLACE ever returned to the team. Now, on paper, that sounds like typical locker room bravado, maybe a bit of competitive spirit mixing with personal feelings. But considering Cook's rising star and his importance to the Bills' offensive schemes, this is not something coaches or front office executives can just ignore. Fans are speculating endlessly, dissecting every interview and past social media post from both Cook and Wallace, trying to read between the lines of what might just be personal preference, professional rivalry, or even something deeper rooted in team dynamics. Some analysts suggest that Cook has built his role around specific matchups and offensive strategies that could be disrupted by Wallace's presence, while others argue this is purely emotional, perhaps tied to past games, competition for recognition, or even off-field disagreements that have somehow reached boiling point, sparking this controversial declaration. LEVI WALLACE's journey through the NFL has been nothing short of a testament to perseverance. Moving from undrafted free agent to a player who has contributed significantly to multiple teams, including the Bills, Steelers, and Broncos. For many, Wallace embodies the kind of grit and determination that makes for compelling football storylines, and his potential return to Buffalo would, under normal circumstances, be seen as a strategic move. Yet, the ripple effect caused by Cook's alleged statement makes this much more than a standard roster adjustment. The question on everyone's mind is whether this is a negotiating tactic, a public airing of internal friction, or the first sign of a deeper rift within the team. Rumors of locker room tensions often emerge in NFL teams, but rarely do they involve a player of Cook's caliber publicly threatening departure over the possible acquisition of a cornerback like Wallace. Sports media outlets are already buzzing with speculation about whether this is a stunt, a negotiation strategy to leverage his contract, or an emotional reaction to a perceived threat to his position and role within the team. Every fan thread, podcast, and insider report seems to amplify the drama, turning what might have been a simple personnel discussion into a full-blown narrative that has the potential to dominate the NFL offseason conversation, leaving no one untouched by the implications of Cook's bold stance. Buffalo has always been known for its passionate fan base and high-stakes football culture, and this latest development threatens to stir the pot in a way that could redefine the team's off-season storylines. Analysts and commentators are racing to contextualize Cook's comment, pointing out that it might not be literal, but rather a reflection of strong personal feelings about team dynamics, trust, and locker room chemistry. Cook has grown into a cornerstone of the Bills' offense, his ability to change games with breakaway speed and agility making him indispensable to the team's strategy. If Wallace were to return, it might not just affect play calls, but also the intangible elements of team chemistry that coaches spend hours nurturing. The rumor mill is suggesting that behind closed doors, discussions about potential trades, re-signings, or strategic shifts could already be underway, and insiders hint that Cook's comment may have been intended to send a signal, both to the front office and to the fans, about the seriousness of his position. The NFL offseason is often filled with subtle psychological warfare, where statements, leaks, and rumors carry as much weight as actual player movements. And this situation exemplifies the intersection of personal loyalty, professional ambition, and team politics, creating a narrative that feels almost too cinematic to be real. Social media, as always, has acted as the accelerant to this smoldering fire, with fan reactions ranging from outrage to complete disbelief. Clips of Cook's highlights are now being juxtaposed with Wallace's defensive plays, and threads debating who truly deserves a starting role are trending across platforms. Some fans are framing this as a classic power struggle, offensive star versus defensive stalwart, while others see it as a more human story of pride, preference, and perceived respect. The psychology of athletes in professional leagues is often overlooked by fans who focus solely on performance statistics. But insiders point out that relationships between teammates, feelings of support or rivalry, and personal confidence can have significant impacts on both morale and results on the field. The fact that this statement is being treated as both a rumor and a potential reality creates a unique tension, where each move by the front office, each public appearance, and even subtle comments and interviews are scrutinized for hidden meaning. The speculation is relentless, with every mention of Levi Wallace in connection with Buffalo now triggering discussions about Cook's possible exit, making the rumor feel alive and evolving. A story that refuses to settle into any single narrative and instead feeds the imagination of fans, commentators, and analysts alike, turning off-season chatter into high-stakes drama. Insiders suggest that the potential friction between Cook and Wallace is not just about skill sets or positions, but reflects broader questions about team identity and culture. Buffalo has been cultivating a high-powered offense around Cook's versatility, his ability to stretch defenses vertically and horizontally, while Wallace, as a cornerback with experience against top-tier receivers, represents both a potential threat and a solution to defensive challenges. The dynamic here is fascinating because it juxtaposes offensive innovation against defensive reinforcement, and any hint of conflict in such a high-profile context can become amplified beyond the locker room. Sports psychology experts might argue that Cook's statement, whether serious or hyperbolic, signals a perceived challenge to his leadership and influence within the team, and the ripple effects of this perception could extend into every facet of the Bills' offseason planning. The media frenzy continues to speculate whether this is a negotiating tactic, a reactionary statement, or an authentic expression of personal values, and each interpretation adds a layer of complexity, suggesting that Buffalo might be navigating both roster management and interpersonal diplomacy simultaneously. The narrative is compelling because it touches on themes that resonate with fans: loyalty, competition, identity, and the lengths to which athletes go to protect their roles and legacies in high-pressure environments, making this one of the most intriguing off-season stories in recent memory. The tension surrounding this story is also influencing broader discussions about player agency, contract negotiations, and the psychology of team building in the NFL. Cook's potential departure, triggered by Wallace's rumored return, raises questions about how teams balance star power against depth, talent against experience, and personality against performance. In Buffalo, these questions are no longer theoretical. They have become a simmering public conversation, amplified by social media, sports media coverage, and insider reports. Every potential roster move is now viewed through the lens of this rumored conflict, and analysts are debating how the Bills' coaching staff might manage this delicate situation without losing key assets. Fans, naturally, are divided, some defending Cook's stance as a reasonable assertion of personal boundaries, while others see it as a dramatic overreaction to a potential but uncertain roster change. The narrative thrives on ambiguity, feeding speculation and encouraging engagement, which is exactly what fuels YouTube sports commentary, podcasts, and social media threads. This story is more than a rumor. It is a lens through which broader conversations about the modern NFL, athlete agency, and team dynamics can be explored, creating intrigue and anticipation for every future move, comment, or public appearance involving Cook, Wallace, or the Bills themselves. The ripple effects of Cook's declaration are already shaping conversations not just in Buffalo, but across the NFL, where rival teams and media insiders are closely watching every interaction, tweet, and interview for hints of what could unfold. The idea that a star running back could threaten to leave over the return of a cornerback is unprecedented in its visibility, if not its logic, yet it taps into a deeper narrative that fans and pundits cannot resist exploring. There's speculation that Cook's statement may have been amplified by agents and media strategists to send a message about leverage, contract negotiations, or even team culture, and some insiders suggest that it might have been carefully timed to coincide with off-season planning, maximizing its impact. Meanwhile, Levi Wallace's camp remains quiet, fueling further conjecture about whether he intends to pursue a return, how the team might respond, or whether the situation will escalate into a public showdown. The drama unfolds like a serialized story, with each day bringing new interpretations, potential leaks, and fan debates that span social media platforms, podcasts, and sports networks. Analysts are dissecting past interactions between Cook and Wallace, examining past games where their paths crossed, and suggesting that even minor incidents or perceived slights could have snowballed into the intensity of the current buzz, making every detail a potential plot point in what is rapidly becoming one of the NFL's most talked about off-season sagas. Before we dive back in, make sure to hit that subscribe button and give this video a thumbs up. Your support helps us keep delivering the latest Buffalo Bills updates straight to your screen. And hey, don't hold back. Let us know your thoughts on today's news down in the comments. Rumors of locker room tension rarely gain this kind of traction without multiple contributing factors, and sources close to the team hint that there may be more beneath the surface than what fans see on social media. Cook, as a cornerstone of the offense, is not only vital on the field, but also commands influence in team discussions, leadership meetings, and public representation of the Bills brand. Wallace, with his experience and defensive prowess, represents both a potential upgrade and a challenge to established dynamics, creating a scenario where personal relationships and professional ambitions collide. Some insiders speculate that Cook's reaction is rooted in a fear of losing his positional prominence, while others argue it reflects a deep desire for mutual respect and cohesion within the team's hierarchy. Sports media have picked up on subtle clues, parsing past interviews, training camp reports, and even social interactions between players to construct theories about how and why this situation developed. Every new rumor adds layers, from potential trade discussions to contract negotiations to interpersonal conflicts, creating a narrative that feels larger than life. The Bills front office now finds itself balancing not only roster strategy, but the delicate task of managing public perception, ensuring player satisfaction, and maintaining momentum heading into the upcoming season, all under the glare of national scrutiny. Meanwhile, fan reactions continue to escalate, reflecting the passion, loyalty, and sometimes chaos of Buffalo's football culture. Some are rallying behind Cook, viewing his statement as a principled stance on team dynamics and loyalty, while others see it as dramatic and potentially destabilizing. Online forums are flooded with debates, polls, and comparisons, often drawing historical parallels to similar off-season disputes in the NFL, even when circumstances differ significantly. Analysts have pointed out that this level of public scrutiny can itself influence outcomes, as players, coaches, and front office staff adjust their behavior in response to fan sentiment and media attention. The tension is heightened by the media's tendency to frame this as a high-stakes power struggle, creating a narrative arc that feels almost cinematic: star running back versus returning cornerback, personal pride versus professional calculation, loyalty versus strategic necessity. Each rumor, whether grounded in fact or speculative interpretation, is dissected and amplified, generating a feedback loop that drives engagement, speculation, and intrigue. For Buffalo fans, every update is more than news. It's an emotional event, a story to follow obsessively, and a topic that dominates conversation from sports bars to social media feeds. The drama surrounding Cook and Wallace, while not yet resolved, has already become a defining narrative of the offseason, ensuring that Buffalo remains at the center of NFL discussions, regardless of what the official roster moves might ultimately reveal. From a team management perspective, the situation presents both challenges and opportunities, forcing the Bills' decision-makers to carefully weigh the risks and rewards of potential player movements. Cook's importance to the offense, combined with Wallace's defensive capabilities, creates a scenario where decisions cannot be made solely based on talent evaluation. Interpersonal dynamics, public perception, and long-term team culture must also be considered. Some sources suggest that internal meetings have intensified, with coaches and executives assessing how best to navigate the tension, maintain focus, and ensure that the team is not derailed by external narratives. There's also speculation that the statement might serve as a subtle negotiation tactic, aimed at signaling Cook's value and influence to the organization, while creating leverage for contract discussions or roster considerations. This type of situation, while fraught with potential pitfalls, also allows the front office to demonstrate leadership, strategic thinking, and crisis management, all under the watchful eyes of the media and fanbase. The outcome of this saga, whether it results in a player trade, a standoff, or a quiet resolution behind closed doors, will be closely scrutinized and could set precedents for how player influence and team culture interact in high-profile franchises like Buffalo. The narrative continues to build, feeding anticipation and uncertainty in equal measure, ensuring that every statement, rumor, and hint of movement is treated as critical intel in a story that refuses to fade. That's a wrap for now. If you enjoyed the video and want to stay on top of all things Buffalo Bills, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button. We'd love to hear what you think in the comments. See you in the next update.